We're coming to the end of this conference, and in the last 2 days we used Slido quite often. We would like to use it once again for your feedback. And before we come to the official closing of this conference, we will have the final words, and I will open Slido once again for you, and the final words will be now spoken by these two gentlemen.
Ja, tschüss, danke schön. Tschüss. Ja.
Herr Professor
Professor Wörner and I stand here representing the FFR, the executive board of the FFR. Mr. Quilling, who is with us here as well, could not join us at that time. And before we come to the summary of content, I would like to thank all speakers in particular, but I would like to thank all participants. Thank you very much for this ICANA. It's ICANA number 5 that we have organized, and I'm really proud. I'm proud that again and again we are working on these subjects and that we develop new findings again and again. In the last coordination council meeting, once again we had a discussion, how will it go on in the next 15 years? What are the next subjects? And I remember what the managing director of the Traffic Noise Commission said. She also said that her commission always asked the question, aren't we finished? Isn't that the end of what we have achieved? Will there be more? Can we invent something new? That was a question that has come up again and again. And it went further always because there were new and additional findings. New people joined us, came together, working on certain subjects. And I think that's really the visible indication that it's really worth it to work on that subject. And this ICANA demonstrates that, again, you never know where the end will be and what the outcome will be. It's really necessary. And that's what we heard also several times, that we need to deal with noise permanently close to airports. Thank you very much to all speakers and to the participants. And now, Professor Wörner. Everything that has been said in the past 1.5 days, please summarize it in such a way that we can work with it. Thank you very much, Mr. Prümm. That's really the task. What we have heard from you should be used further. You have seen you are permanently mentioned as a European Union Commissioner. We can't accept that. We need you for the forum. So, no. I really summarized it from my point of view and tried to put it in a certain logic. Many might say I've heard everything, but at the end, that was the result. So what we heard, we got a clear presentation how all these noise level discussions, dB, EPN dB, and so on and so forth. That was an important start. And in the meantime, we heard how far the calculation procedures that have been used have error bars and uncertainties. That was another important information we got. We talked about the development of noise in the aircrafts in the past 2 decades, and we heard from 80 to 2000.1 dB a year, and then from 2000 to 2020 0.3 dB, and that was the margin that at least we continue to achieve that. So that was an interesting information as well. Technical possibilities of active noise abatement were talked about at the source, whether it was the engines, the high lift system, the landing gears. Sometimes it's very small. I really live to see the pain with all these vortex generators and why we were told you can't install it. Money was not the reason I was willing to pay it for 20 planes. I could have done so they were low price. But then we heard it's really time consuming, more difficult and much more complicated. We heard about runoff and approaching systems, and we were presented future engine concepts, electrical planes as well, and expected results were mentioned, not only presented here, but also we were pointed out the problems. We heard about the associations and organizations, EASA, ICAO and others, and we heard that there might be an increase of traffic volume, but fleets could be developed differently, and how this is correlated to noise propagation. We heard that it really depends on how the fleets are organized and develop. Maybe noise stays the same, maybe it goes up substantially, and that might happen, and it's in our interest to reduce noise here as well. That seems to be a difficult task if you consider the growth of air traffic in general. And then in the discussion just now, we heard about climate protection and noise abatement. And I would like to add a third point. It's the efficiency aspect that has to play a role. It has to be given everywhere, because otherwise it wouldn't work out at all. And that means, and it was mentioned before, that would means that we need to look at the circular economy. And I would say for that, more research, much more research and innovation will be needed. Another interesting point, and that's an understanding that many people shared here. In the near field, political priority is with noise reduction. Definitely so. And this directly leads us to the FFR, Forum Flughafen und Region. This is our task, first and foremost. And now as before, also in the future, we will urge the stakeholders to implement noise abatement wherever possible. And this conference is a very good basis for that. Thank you very much to all of you, and have a nice weekend.